Hi everyone, this is Karen Whooley, and I'm here today to talk to you about how to seam modern metro. But before we get started with the actual seaming portion of the video, I want to address the neckline of modern metro. I get a lot of questions both in my Facebook group and via email from a lot of people making this pattern, thinking that there's an error in the pattern, that there's some shaping here we have to drop down into the fabric when we sew this front panel on, and that is not the case. The pattern shows here, I'm going to pull the pattern here, that you're seaming right at the edge, and that is exactly what you're doing. The reason you're seeing this, the shaping here, she's a very thin woman, and I made the small size for the sample. And because she's a very thin woman, a 20-inch neckline or 19 in the small, so 19, 20-inch neckline is going to drape differently on her than someone who might be a little bit larger. So that's why you're seeing this. Now, if you want to make, if yours is not coming out, that it's not laying on you the way it looks like it's supposed to lay here, and you want it to look like that, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make this piece a little wider. And when you make the front panel, so you'd have to increase the size between B and C. So I have it says 9 to 10 here. And the reason it's 9 and 10 is because with the smaller size, we make this 9 inches and it closes the front flap just a little bit more than the 10. The 10 will give you a little more, it's not, you can't really see it here, but it'll open up just a little bit more at the bottom. To give the larger bust line it gives the larger bust line a little bit more room. So what I would do is make this, you know, if you want it to sit a little bit differently, make it maybe 11 or 12 inches here, but that's going to force you to create this a little wider as well. That front panel needs to be a little wider as well. If you left it at 10 inches and did this at 11 or 12, you would have issues seaming it, and then the kick pleat, or what I call a kick pleat, it's not really a kick pleat, but this little opening here at the bottom will open even wider, and you may not like that look because it's meant to be more closed. So anyway, that is what I want to talk about here. So I know a lot of people are confused about it. If you have any questions, go ahead to my website and contact me directly, or if you're in my Facebook group, you can ask some questions there as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the actual seaming. So the first thing you want to do, this schematic here is showing you the large panel, not the front panel, but the back panel, okay? And that's what you need to seam first. And the way I do this, I made a smaller piece so that you guys can kind of see. I'm going to raise you up here a little bit so that maybe we can see a little better. Here we go. I'm just sorry about all that, but I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So what I do first is I lay out the back panel flat like this. And then what I do is I take a ruler or a measuring tape or something, and I lay it across so that it's the 69 or the 81 across. And then what I do is I stick sweater markers or sweater, these are clips that I use for seaming for sweaters and garments like this. And what I do is I measure out and I pin where A should be, where B should be, C, and D. So in the case of the sample that you're making, let me pull the pattern back here. So you're going to start from the left edge and you're going to measure either 10 or 15 and a half and pin A. Then you're going to measure 20 and pin B. Then you're going to measure either 9 or 10 and do C. And then measure from 20 more inches to pin D. And then you should have 10 or 15 and a half left at the other end. Now, the 10 and the 15 half at either end, that's the circumference of your armhole. Now I know that's a huge armhole when you get to the 15 and a half, but in order to make this particular garment fit properly, we need to make those armholes a little bigger. So what you see on the sample, actually she has large armholes compared to what most sweaters would be like. So even at the the 15.5 armholes, you should get that same drapey look that she has in this picture, or in the other pictures as well. So once I have measured out and pinned all those pieces, I'm going to grab this one more time. You match A to A, B to B, C to C, and D to D. Now the way I do it though is I find that if I pin B and C first, A and D come out better. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take B, which is this bottom corner, I'm going to bring it up here, and I am going to pin that in place. And then I take A, which is this corner that's naturally coming here. Now because I'm making a smaller piece, this is going to seem really awkward the way I pin it, because that's only like a 2-inch circumference right there. But there we go. So we pin it like that, and then you're going to have to fuss with it because it does because this isn't like an origami type of folding, it's going to make these lumps and bumps and bruises and stuff here, and you're going to have to fuss with it before you actually seam it. So like for me in this case, I kind of have to flatten it out here a little, and then what I would do is I would pin strategically here to hold it in place. So let's do the same thing on the other side. This is C here, and this is D. I'm going to pick C, and I'm going to pin it right where C is. So take that and put it up here, pin that, and then of course C and or D and D. Give me a second here. Again, this is awkward because it's a small opening. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is flatten this guy out a little and play with it until it kind of lays the way I want it to. And then I'm going to pin it in strategic places here and then seam it up. Now I'm going to go ahead and seam these up using the mattress stitch. If you don't know how to do the mattress stitch, I recommend Googling it or using YouTube to find out. Eventually I am going to do a mattress stitch video, but I don't have one right now. And I don't want this video to take all that time. So I'm going to go ahead and seam this, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to attach the front panel. Talk to you in a minute. Hi everyone, now I'm back with the seamed back panel. And you can see it's kind of almost looks like a Yoda head in a way, mine does, probably because it's so small. But you'll notice that this kind of buckles here a little bit, and that is going to come out with blocking. I'm not going to block this in between because I'm making a video, but normally what I would tell you guys to do is seam those seams and then do a steam block just to flatten this out a little bit. Because when you're seaming it, no matter which seam you use, I use mattress stitch because I like how neat it looks. It'll kind of flatten things out before you actually attach the front panel. So let's talk about the front panel now. Now the front panel is actually 10 inches wide by 40 inches long. Mine's a little shorter for the smaller package. But the way you do this is, first of all, you fold that front panel in half. And that is what's going to go right here. And mine is going to be, you can decide if you want it to open this way, or like you see in the picture, it opens this way. You have that choice. It doesn't matter which way you do it. I just happen to like the way it looked when I opened it this way. But the way you pin this in is, first of all, you're going to figure out which direction you want it to go. And then I always start at the top edge here on the left hand side, and I take where it's folded in half and I put the clip through that first, and then I pin it right through the middle of the seam. And I do the same thing on the other side. I take the clip and I pin it right through the middle of the fold, and then I pin it to the middle of the seam. Okay, so then what you're going to do here is you're going to pin all the way down. I don't need to pin all the way down because it's such a small little piece. But you'll notice, see, the edge should match up because this is 20 inches, or it was 20 inches deep, and this should be 20 inches. You should have a 10 inch by 40. And so when you pin it, you're going to leave an inch at the bottom. You're not going to completely sew it all the way down. So I'm going to just kind of pick a number of stitches right there to leave open. And that just gives you a little more drape, and it gives you a little more room to move in this origami style sweater. So I'm going to pin those there. Now, the way you seam this, remember I told you I put it through both halves of the folded front panel. When you're seaming it, because it's leaning this way, I always start at the bottom because it's easier, but when I get to the top, I'm only going to seam through this top part. I'm not going to seam through both pieces because otherwise I don't have enough room. It makes the neckline tight and it won't stretch around you. So what I do is I'll start here about an inch from the bottom and I'll seam all the way up. And then when I get up here, I will not seam through both parts of the fabric, only the top portion. Then when I do this side, I'm going to start about an inch up and I'm going to seam all the way up to the top. And I'm only going to seam through the bottom portion. So this is open. It's hard to see in the pictures, in any of the pictures. You really can't tell. It looks like it's attached here, but it's not. It's actually loose. So the whole sweater is really loose right there. And that's because, first of all, it's an origami style sweater, but it also allows for more stretch. So if you're making the smaller size and you might be an inch or two off of what I'm saying the bust is, you'll have more room in there. So you may not need to go up to the larger size. What I am finding with this pattern is that even though there's two sizes, most people fit in the smaller size. Even though I've given dimensions for a larger size, you might want to start by making the smaller size and folding it and pinning it and then trying it on and see how it fits you before you seam it up. And if you like the way it fits, then just use the smaller size. The bigger size is going to be it fits differently on people because of that extra right here. It's going to just be bigger armholes. And so it might be a little too drapey on you. So that's just something I wanted to note with the sizing as well. But anyway, this is how you seam the Modern Metro. Again, if you have any questions, let me know via my email on my website. You can go to www.karenwhooley.com, or you can go to my Facebook group, which is #TeamHooligan. If you're not already a member, go ahead and join us there, and you can ask questions in there as well. If you have anything else, let me know, and I'll try to make another video to help out. But this should get you through the entirety of Modern Metro. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.